Hello everyone and welcome to the Week 25 weekend edition of Instant Replay, where I give you my take on the most controversial plays from the rivalry week slate. I'm Simon Borg. We start with the New York Derby, and the Red Bulls had a handful of penalty kick shots in this one. We start in the 7th minute when New York City FC defender Ben Sweat turns his body from the ball in an attempt to block the shot, but in the process he extends his left arm and it looks to me like he deflects the ball with it. I would have been fine with a penalty there, but referee Jair Marufo says play on, and handballs are judgment calls. There was no clear and obvious error signaled by the VAR. The Red Bulls had what I thought was a stronger case for a penalty in the second half, when NYCFC's RJ Allen charges Bradley Wright Phillips in the box just as he's about to head the ball on goal. I don't think Allen is making a play on the ball, and instead he rams into BWP's back. No penalty for Marufo. Just a few minutes later, it was Red Bulls forward Alex Muil hitting the deck after what I think is a fair tackle by NYCFC's Frederic Brillant, who also gets the ball. But there were some who wanted a card shown to Muil for simulation, except if you look carefully, there is contact in the follow-through and Muil loses his balance. That's a good no call by Marufo, and I thought a good decision not to show a card. The Red Bulls did eventually earn a penalty in minute 68, and New York City FC manager Patrick Vieira felt that Sasha Kljestan fooled the referee on this one. But in my eyes, this is a foul, albeit a soft one. RJ Allen steps in front of Kljestan and bumps him. Sure, Kljestan doesn't fight through it, but even a soft penalty is still a penalty, and Gonzalo Veron steps up to equalize 1-1. And that's the way the match would finish, although New York City FC also had a really strong case for a penalty when Alex Muil extends his left arm and blocks this header in the box by David Villa. Marufo judges that to be ball to hand instead of hand to ball. So the Red Bulls get that call in their favor, but they were also lucky earlier in the match because I thought defender Kamar Lawrence could have been sent off for this scissors challenge on Mikey Lopez, which was accompanied by what in my opinion was significant force. Marufo shows him a yellow. We head to Toyota Park, where the Chicago Fire were down 2-0 at home in the second half, and they were hoping to get back into it in the 50th minute when they wanted a handball called on Minnesota center back Michael Boxall. But this is actually a great no call by referee Kevin Stott, who's perfectly positioned. Boxall simply makes the defensive play and the ball caroms off his right arm. That's ball to hand and not a penalty. And it would prove a frustrating night for the Fire and Bastian Schweinsteiger, who picks up a yellow card for tossing the ball at the back of a Minnesota player who was set to take a throw in. The Fire lose 2-1, and they've now dropped 4 in a row. One play to look at from RFK Stadium, where DC won their 3rd match in a row. New England Revolution defender Claude Dielna gets a yellow from referee Jose Carlos Rivero for this tackle on DC's Paul Arriola. But given the force of the tackle, which in my opinion endangers the safety, similar to the Kamar Lawrence tackle earlier, I would have been okay with a straight red card. The slow-mo replay is cringeworthy when you watch how Arriola's leg succumbs to the tackle. Moving on to another Eastern Conference clash with playoff implications, as Philadelphia hosted Atlanta and the Union took the lead in the 18th minute on this nifty goal by Roland Alberg. And that's a great call by assistant referee Gianni Facchini, who keeps his flag down. There is no offside on that beautiful lofted pass over the top, but that was a tougher call than it seemed. The Union would cough up a 2-goal lead in this one, and it did not help their cause one bit that center back Josh Yarrow saw a straight red card for denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity after hauling down Atlanta's Josef Martinez. Referee Drew Fisher frankly had no choice there. And a suspicious incident in the 87th minute, as Atlanta's Yamil Assad is spotted down on the ground in the penalty area, and he would emerge holding his face after the referee stopped play. Now, when we roll back the video, it looks like there's some sort of contact from Philadelphia's Ilsinho, which we spot shadow here. But it's unclear what happened, although the VAR will have checked plenty of other angles that we didn't have on the broadcast. But one fan in the crowd sure had his mind made up as to what happened, pulling out an Oscar for Assad. Hey, how did that make it in through security? To Columbus, where Crew SC took the lead on Ola Kamara's 14th goal of the season, but FC Dallas were arguing there was a handball committed by Kamara in the lead-up. When we look at this replay, it doesn't look like there was a handball to me, and the VAR, who had access to all the angles available, did not flag it as a clear and obvious error. And credit also goes to assistant referee Jeremy Hansen for keeping his flag down throughout the play. The goal stands. But FC Dallas had a couple of gripes in this one. First, in the 21st minute, Crew SC defender Josh Williams ran a huge risk when he pushes Roland Lamont inside the box. No whistle from referee Alan Chapman, although that looked like it was worthy of a penalty to me. I think Chapman did well not to go to his whistle just before halftime when FC Dallas were arguing for a handball on Will Trapp. As Chapman is seen explaining here, Trapp's arm was close to his body and the ball just jumped up on him. It's ball to hand, and I agree. But then I thought Trapp was arguably guilty of a red card-worthy foul in the 61st minute when he goes in with the straight leg studs-up challenge on Kellen Acosta. But the referee had previously awarded the advantage and decides to go back and call the foul that happened seconds earlier near the corner. But it's worth noting that if the referee thought Trapp's foul deserved a red card, he could have still ejected Trapp. Ultimately, no cards came out here, and that's a judgment call by the referee. To Orlando for the end-to-end full-blooded affair between the Whitecaps and Lions, and I thought Orlando's Cristian Higuita risked the sending off with this lunge from behind on Vancouver's Alphonso Davies. Referee Hilario Grajeda calls the foul, but no cards are shown to Higuita, although I thought this was on the border of being a red for endangering the safety. Higuita leaves his feet, he's almost sitting on Davies' left foot, and then there's that follow-through. And a potential simulation alert in the 10th minute. Does Orlando's Carlos Rivas take a dive on the tackle from the Vancouver defender? It looks to me like he goes down before the players come together. To Montreal, where referee Robert Sabiga had a decision to make on 2 second-half penalty kick appeals. First, Toronto's Josie Altidore wanted a handball called on Montreal's Samuel Piet, but the player's arm is by his side. Good no call. And then a few minutes later, Montreal's Ignacio Piatti wanted a penalty, but as we see on the replay, the contact is minimal, and Piatti just lets himself go. No foul there either. Inside the last 10 minutes of the match, there was a foul called when Montreal's Dominic Oduro runs into Toronto keeper Alex Bono after the whistle. But the referee Sabiga opts not to show Oduro any cards. In my opinion, I thought this was at minimum a yellow card for reckless play. But I would have been okay with a straight red to Oduro. Here's why. I think Oduro makes no attempt to avoid the contact, and when you connect with a player's head, I classify that as endangering the safety. And before we leave Stade Saputo, the topic came up on the broadcast as to whether the throw-in that led to Toronto's second goal was perhaps a foul throw. What we know for sure is that throw-ins, as with all set pieces, are not reviewable. But to me, this also happens to be a completely legal throw. When we freeze frame it, you see Toronto's Victor Vasquez has both feet on the ground and only lifts his back foot when the ball's already left his hands. To StubHub Center, where the officials were busy during the final California Clasico of the year. We saw a great use of video review a couple of minutes into the second half. Referee Chris Penso awards a penalty kick to LA after this foul on the edge of the area by San Jose's Darwin Seren on LA's Joao Pedro. But the VAR alerts Penso to a potential clear and obvious error as far as the exact spot of the foul. And as we can see on the replays, the foul in fact happens outside the area. Penso doesn't even need to watch the replays. He takes the info from the VAR and overturns his original decision, spotting the ball just outside the area. The other big call in this one came in the 57th minute on the straight red card shown to LA Galaxy right back Nathan Smith. And stomps like these are always a judgment call by the referee. There are some who will say that the challenge was reckless and thus deserving of a yellow, but others, including me, will argue that the force of that stomp takes it to another level, i.e. a red card. Now, the play is checked by the VAR since it's a straight red card, but because there's no clear and obvious error, there is no video review. Next up, Rio Tinto Stadium, and with the match still at 0-0, Real Salt Lake were lucky not to go down to 10 men when defender Justin Glad, who was already sitting on a yellow, is called for this foul on Colorado's Marlon Hairston. That looked like it was deserving of a second yellow to me since it stops a promising attack, and that's the argument that Hairston makes to referee Jorge Gonzalez. But no cards come out. Real Salt Lake were already up 1-0 when they earned a penalty kick early in the second half, and this is a stone-cold call with Mikael Williams playing the man and not the ball. The contact is not egregious, but it's enough for the foul, and the referee has no doubt. Luis Silva converts as RSL go up 2-0. And that lead would help RSL ride out a straight red card shown to left back Danilo Acosta for this tackle on Marlon Hairston. And here too, similar to the Nathan Smith red card in LA, the force behind the tackle matters. And I'm with Gonzalez here on this red. That's a good call for me. But Colorado could not capitalize on the man advantage, and then in the 77th minute, they were also reduced to 10 men as Alan Gordon gets a second yellow card and subsequent red, and there's no doubt about this one. The flailing arm to Justin Glad's face is an automatic yellow for reckless play. We also saw a case of video review in this one after a goal scored by Colorado's Josh Gott was originally disallowed for offside. But the VAR signaled the referee to a potential clear and obvious error, and after the referee takes another look at it, Gonzalez deems that Gott was even with the defender and the decision was reversed. The goal was allowed to stand. But the Rapids' comeback hopes were short-lived. RSL would go on to tack on 2 more goals for the 4-1 win. And we end in Seattle in the Cascadia derby between the Sounders and Timbers, which finished 1-1. And the Timbers would get their equalizing goal on a penalty just before the half. And for me, this is a great call by referee Mark Geiger, because I actually see 2 fouls on Portland forward Darren Maddox. One's a push by Sounders defender Kelvin Leardom from behind, and the other from the ground by the goalkeeper. The Sounders would have 3 penalty appeals of their own in the second half. First, there was this coming together between Seattle's Victor Rodriguez and Portland defender Laris Mabiala. And that's all it is for me, a coming together. Geiger says play on, and I agree. And then with 2 minutes remaining, there was another coming together between Mabiala and Christian Roldan. Nothing there for me since they're both attempting to make a play on a 50-50 ball. For me, another good no call by Geiger. But 1 minute later, I thought the Sounders had their strongest case for a spot kick as Timbers defender Zarek Valentin touches the ball with an outstretched arm. I thought it was a penalty, but no whistle from Geiger, and that's ultimately a judgment call, not a clear and obvious error, thus no video review. And there would be more late-game drama, with Sounders left back Nuhu Tolo seeing a red card for flinging his hand into the face of Portland's Diego Chara. And referee Mark Geiger had a good look at this one, and a better view than even this wide angle from the broadcast. And I'd argue there could have been another red card in this one to a Timbers player. Portland's Sebastian Blanco sends his forearm into Leardom's head, but Geiger graces Blanco by showing him a yellow card. And if it wasn't clear by now, this was an especially tense match. Even Diego Valeri was getting animated, although in this instance, I don't think he was in the right on his protests. He's arguing that he was hit in the chest, but that's a love tap to me and some embellishment on the way down. What do you think of these rivalry week plays? As always, let us know in the comments. Until next week, for our editor Rich Hernandez, I'm Simon Borg. See you next time!